3 to remain at 18,000 and asks for a bond, at least on position of 2, of around 100,000. The state is concerned with the danger of the community. Defendant has attacked other victims with battery family violence before. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement. I do understand they have a defendant has attacked other victims with battery family violence before. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement. I do understand they have a defendant has attacked other victims with battery family violence before. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement. I think 18 CR 01066A, I think, is in Fulton County. I'd be concerned with the danger of victims and ask for in one of the cases, the defendant is alleged to preventing the victim from calling law enforcement.
All right, that's $30,000 on that. Position 3, ending in 8461. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Tamara, CORAZALA. Stay away from 8139 Colquitt Road in Sandy Springs. Ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew.
Right,
Court,
that's
lawyer, medical
$30,000
appointments,
on
mental
that.
health appointments. Position
Employment,
3,
as long as you
ending
supply
in
the name of your employer,
8461.
proof
No
of
drugs
employment,
unless
schedule,
prescribed,
in the
no
exact
weapons, no further
location you're
contact
going to be
with
working.
Tamara, COR.
So I'll do
AZA
10,000, 1,000,
Stay away
and
from
1,000.
8139
10,000,
Colquitt Road in
1,000,
Sandy Springs.
and
Ankle monitor
1,000.
paid
Best
for
of
by
luck
the
to you,
county
sir.
with
You
a
can lead the
24-hour
booth.
curfew.
Right,
Court,
that's
lawyer, medical
$30,000
appointments,
on
mental
that.
health
That
appointments.
concludes my business
Position
for
3,
this evening.
ending in
the name of your
Yes,
employer,
we do
proof of
11 and
employment,
schedule
in the exact location you're going to be
Enjoy the
working.
game.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good
So I'll
evening.
do, all right, thank you.
10,000,
Richard Cardiac.
Stay away from 8139 Colquitt
10,000,
Road in
your hand
Sandy
if you're
Springs.
Richard
Ankle
Cardiac.
monitor paid
Best
for
of
by
luck
the
to you,
county
sir.
with
You
a
can lead it.
24-hour
Let's see. This
curfew.
is 23 CP 218 109 115 days without indictment. There's a we do 11 and schedule in the exact. We did take care of all that. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good
So I'll
evening.
do, all right, thank you.
10,000,
Richard Cardiac. Two 109 115 days without indictment. There's a we do 11 and schedule in the exact. We did take care.
Not much a risk of flight, nor is he a risk of reoffending or a threat to the community. So at this point, knowing with the Augusta hold, we request the court set a UJR bond.
All right, what says the state?
Yeah, no, the state would oppose a UJR for this case, particularly considering the defendant's South Carolina history.
Not
State would be
much a risk
concerned
of flight,
about the risk to
nor is he a
reoffense,
risk of
a lot of these
refunding or a
offenses
threat to the
involving
community.
theft and larceny.
So at this point,
But the state
knowing
would
with
be
the
fine with,
Augusta hold,
I guess,
we-
doing
we
more than
request the
half,
court
even
set a
at 1,000.
UJR bond.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state would oppose a UJR
1,000
for
count one,
this
we'll keep
case,
the other two
particularly
counts at
considering the
UJR jail,
defendant's
no
South
drugs unless
Carolina
prescribed, no
history.
alcohol, no weapons, stay away
Not
from
too much a risk
575
of
Old
flight,
Holcomb Bridge
risk
Road.
nor is he a
offenses,
risk of
a lot of these
refunding or a
offenses
threat to the
involving
community.
theft and larceny.
So at this point,
But the state
knowing
would
with
be
the
fine with,
Augusta hold,
I guess,
we-
doing
we
more than
request the
half,
court set
even
a
at 1,000.
UJR bond.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state would oppose a
Let's see. Don't think, hold on, let me see where else I got here. I've got about, do we have South, let's see, what's this down here? This is, I think it's 18, right?
I believe for Miss Jones.
Alejandro Alcantar,
Yes.
and he doesn't, you don't need an interpreter, right, sir? Okay, all right, and then South Annex, who is that you got there at South Annex? That Michael Betts, Tony Johnson?
Yes, Judge. This is Sergeant Brown down here at South Annex. We do have both inmates present.
Okay, I'll get rid of them just after this one right here. All right, this is position 18, 22 CP 213026, 320 days without indictment, a $75,000 good bond as of February the 23rd, 2023. Terroristic threats and acts. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to defendant, 5 cycles, 2 hold Norcross. No, 1 hold Norcross, got an FTA in Roswell. 1 misdemeanor DUI and FTA, and then took PTI on manufacturing, sale, distribution in 2015. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cashland.
Your Honor, we have Mr. Alejandro Terzas Alcantar. He's 26 years old, a lifelong Georgia resident with a good address on file at 1000 Dawson Court in Alpharetta. Currently lives with himself, but he has family in the area. He's completed 9th grade, and unfortunately he suffers from some mental health diagnoses. He is currently in a partnership for a landscaping company that he's been employed at for the past 5 to 6 years. And I understand that there's a probation violation, which stems from some mental issues affecting his ability to actually adhere to probation, such as checking in. Your Honor, based on Alejandro's lifelong residency, as well as owning a business here, doing landscaping, we don't believe that he is a threat to flee, nor is he a threat to the community as a whole. His last arrest outside of this issue was from 21, I believe. So it has been some time. Mr. Alejandro I've spoken with him, and he's absolutely trying to put this behind him and apologetic. So we request that a bond be set for UJR if possible, or in the alternative, $2,000.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state would be seeking a higher bond. I would say no less than 45. The state is concerned with the allegations in the warrant involving these actions with his mother. The state would be asking for no contact with his the victim and the brother, as stated in the warrant, and then no weapons, drugs, curfew, and a stay away from his mother's home at 1021 Greenhouse Circle, Roswell, Georgia.
Mr. Cashland, is he gonna live in Fulton County?
I'm sorry, does he live in Fulton County?
Is he going to live in Fulton County?
From my understanding, yes, Alpharetta is where he'd be going back to, that 1000 address.
Okay, but not the 1021 Greenhouse Circle, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, all right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. We can also let that include mental health treatment. Stay away from 1021 Greenhouse Circle in Roswell, Georgia. No further contact with Marcelina, Marcelina, last name Alcantar, and the brother. I don't think I had the name. $40,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. You can leave. Let's see, who is this at Oconee County? LT, do you know?
Yes, 1 second. That would be Stephen Johns.
All right, let me take this real quick. Stephen Johns. All right, 23 CP 218197, 111 days without indictment. There's a $10,000 split bond as of 5/4. No bond on false imprisonment, 10,000 on battery family violence. Pre-trial.
Stephen Johns, not recommended, extensive history, 32 arrests, repeat offender, at least 7 felonies. Last been a cocaine with the intent, 2013, a couple of arrests, probation violation and parole violation.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cazzoli.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Johns is 55 years old. He has a good address at 1070 Sanders Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30316. He'll be living with his mother. He is a lifelong resident of the Metro Atlanta area. He had been working at J&L Construction, doing demolition work for 7 years. The only reason he hadn't been working right at the time of his incarceration was due to a surgery he had had very recently. He's a graduate of Roosevelt High School, and he has 4 adult children as well. Your Honor, we understand that the felony allegation at least, is a very serious charge. Your Honor, we were hoping that he would have had a bond hearing about 20 days ago, because when he was statutorily entitled. At this time, Your Honor, we're asking for a bond not to exceed $10,000 in total. That is still far beyond what he can afford right now. But again, he has been in now for over 110 days, and he has not had the opportunity to have a preliminary hearing to determine the probable cause on these charges. So we're asking for a $10,000 bond. And if the state has significant fears about victim contact, we would just ask them whether they've had the opportunity to contact the victim, and whether they have the ability to indict this case.
All right, what says the state?
Well, Your Honor, we did reach out with the victim. The victim stated that they're in fear for their life and said that they are concerned about the defendant's actions. State's also concerned with the risk to reoffend with the prior simple battery family violence on 21 CR 004906F and prior domestic violence offenses with the same victim. The state will be asking for a bond of no less than $40,000 and no contact with Yolanda Gray and no weapons. And that's the state's recommendation. Additionally, state's concerned about intimidating witnesses since they've cohabitated before.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1050 Hammond Drive in Sandy Springs. No further contact with Yolanda Gray, Gray. You have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. 20,000 count 1, 10,000 count 2. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, is this down here? Thank you, Oconee. So are you Michael Betts, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go. Michael Betts. This is for Rossi here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, number 9. 23 CP 215799, 207 days without indictment. There is a $5,000 good bond as of May the 2nd on theft by shoplifting. Right.
Repeat offender, extensive history, 47 arrests, at least 11 felonies. FTAs, 4 misdemeanors, 5 arrests, probation violation, 2 parole violations, numerous theft by shoplifting, prior escapes, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Safarasi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Betts is been incarcerated 207 days without an indictment. We had a preliminary hearing back in April of this year, and you reduced his bond to his current bond right now, which is $5,000 in May of this year. He cannot make that bond, Your Honor. We've already applied him to the bail project, and he could not have it due to one of the failures to appears he has on his history. He also try to apply him for the Ebenezer's bailout, and that also didn't work out. So really at this point, the only thing that can get him out of jail is a UJR, which is what we're asking for. I would like to just bring in light on the allegation. The allegation is to have taken $202.33 from Walmart in the form of 11 packs of batteries. That is the allegation that came out in the warrant and as well as the preliminary hearing. Due to his history, that's why he's facing this felony charge in front of us today. He has been in for so long, almost a year now. At this point, we're getting close to where it'd almost be time served, Your Honor. So that's why we're asking for a UJR. in this case. A little bit about Mr. Betts is he's 54 years old. We have a good address for him in Decatur, Georgia. It is the address on the Odyssey. He does have 4 children, Your Honor, who reside in the area. He has a bachelor's degree in theology. We do have some substance abuse issues. We haven't been able to get him into a program through no fault of his own. It's just that due to the social workers rotating in our office, they just haven't been able to solidly get him into a program. And so, Your Honor, that's why we're asking for UJR today, was because of the extent of his history and the fact this is a nonviolent allegation. Thank you.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state has no objection with halving it to 2,500, but the state would oppose a UJR just because the defendant, as Madam Pretrial stated, has numerous prior thefts. I think I counted 10 prior ones, and then the 11 felonies, and then the state's concerned he might be a flight risk as well with the escape and the failure to appear charges. But just with that amount of prior thefts, the state would oppose a signature bond and would ask for all the conditions on the original bond, particularly the staying away from all the Walmarts.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. I think on here I put also basic life necessities. Stay out of Fulton County except for medical, court, and to see your lawyer. Stay away from all Walmart stores. Stay away from 844 Cleveland Avenue. And like I said, all Walmart stores. So it'll be $2,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Betts.
You're
How about now, Tony Johnson?
Your Honor, may I be excused? I believe Mr. Johns was my last.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You as well.
All right, let's see. Mr. Showalter's position 3, Bostic 23, CP 218504, 100 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond on criminal damage to property as of May the 16th. Pre-trial.
Tony Johnson. There's a para battery on a public transit and obstruction in 2021. He's on probation, 19 SC 169291, terrorist threats, criminal trespass. Sentence 9/19/19, 6 months confinement, 4 years, 6 months. No, actually, his suspended sentence. Suspended sentence, there's 3 FTAs, 2 misdemeanors, a couple of felonies, includes burglaries and aggravated assaults. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Mr. Tony Johnson is 63 years old. He's a Georgian native. He was on disability for medical and MH. He was homeless and he's currently on this $5,000 bond. He's been incarcerated for 100 days now without even a preliminary hearing. And we're asking for his bond to be lowered to just something that he might be able to make, or maybe even UGR to fulfill the purpose of bond, secure, so that he can pay something and secure his ability to come back to the court, Your Honor.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state doesn't have an issue with a reduction. The state would ask for no less than 3,500 and stay away from underground Atlanta. The state's concerned with the amount of prior arrests that the defendant has, as well as I believe that he has an extensive out-of-state history, which I believe was from Tennessee, but just the lengthy history, the state's concerned with that he be a risk to reoffend, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll do no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 50 Upper Alabama Street. Stay out of underground Atlanta, all of underground Atlanta, sir. Must supply an address upon release. $2,500 good bond. You asking for an ankle monitor?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ankle monitor paid for by the county, 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. There'll be a $2,500 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir.
Judge, did you say he must supply an address?
Yeah, supply an address upon release.
So they gonna live there.
Now I've got, let's see, hold on. Let me get who I got in here, mark them off. Oh, Mayor Foster. Mr. Foster, all right, it's position 8, Bostic 22 CP 215037. 237 days without indictment. There's a $17,000 good bond as of May the 8th. So I've got possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of controlled substance in 3, 4, 5 with intent to distribute, possession of Schedule 1 or 2 with intent to distribute ×2, and the possession of the firearm was dismissed at a prelim, I believe. Rah.
There's 7 prior arrests, no prior felony convictions, 2 misdemeanors. If the firearm was dismissed, could be recommended for a UJR through pretrial services.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Haddad.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, on behalf of my client, he's 28 years of age. As the court knows, he's been in since December 29th of 2022. He was working, Judge. I mean, he's a high school graduate, lifelong resident in Georgia. He's been in the metro area in the last 10, 11 years. He's got 2 young kids. I mean, Judge, at this point, I think if the case were accused or indicted, he's looking at time served if he wants to resolve the case. But I've been trying to get him in a program, but the issues with social workers rotating and all that, it's been difficult. I think he'd be a great candidate for UGR, frankly, Judge, and I would ask the court to consider that, or at the very least, a very low bond.
All right, what says the state?
State doesn't object to a lower bond. The state's primarily concerned with the cocaine charge, which I think the statutory recommendation is bond schedule will be at 11,000 for. So the state would just ask for that to remain at 4,000 and for the VGCSA to remain at around 2,000. But the state's fine with any other reductions. The state would just ask for no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, an ankle monitor, and curfew, and a stay away from the Exxon at 840 McDonough Boulevard.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You got an ankle monitor paid for by the county, that 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, the exact location you'll be working. Stay away from 840 McDonough Boulevard, Southeast in Atlanta, Georgia. Previously, I put stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. So don't come back to Fulton County for anything. Don't stop for gas, straight to see Mr. Haddad or straight to court. Got 2,500, 1,500, 3,000, and 3,000. 2,500, 1,500, 3,000, 3,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
Judge, that's the only case I have. May I be excused, Judge?
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's see, I've got Dustin Helm. Let's see. All right, Mr. Helm. So it's number 21. Bostic 23 CP 218348. Dustin Patrick Helm, 105 days without indictment. Let's see. And there's a $2,500 good bond as of May 10th for possession of methamphetamine. Pre-trial.
State offender arrest in Alabama. 1 misdemeanor, 1 arrest for probation violation. In Alabama, there's domestic violence, open case in Decatur for theft by receiving, felony theft by taking from February the 7th of this year, arrest, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cashland.
Certainly, we have Mr. Helm. He is 42 years old. He has lived in Georgia since 2005. A good address on file at 2681. I believe it was Whipple Chase in Duluth. Currently lives with his mom and stepfather. He is employed at Alltech Technical, which does cell tower repairs and replacements. He's been there for approximately 9 years. Your Honor, at this point, my client's been there, I believe, since May or June, and he's not a threat to the community. He's not a threat to reoffend, nor is he a threat to any witness or fleeing the court's jurisdiction. At this point, he's trying to get back his life on track and go back to gainful employment. And as such, we request that the court set a bond as a UJR.
All right, what says the state?
The state would not oppose the UJR reluctantly, though, given the defendant's history.
All right. Any conditions other than no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons?
I would ask for an ankle monitor and curfew, Your Honor.
All right. Ankle monitor paid for by the county, 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical appointments, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and exact location you'll be working. Also, sir, keep it charged. If you don't, we're gonna revoke your bond, okay? So UJR to the jail by consent of the state. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Let's see, what else I got here? I've got Sean Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. This is position 1, 23 CP 217474, 140 days without indictment, $13,500 good bond as of June the 8th, 2023. Let's see, you're right. Interference with government property was dismissed at a pretrial. So got willful obstruction felony, public drunk, simple assault, simple battery, family violence, cruelty to children in third, and misdemeanor obstruction. Pre-trial.
9 prior arrests, 3 misdemeanors, 1 FTN 2023, open case riot in a penal institution, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Kennebrew. Go ahead, Ms. Kennebrew.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Thomas has been in custody for 140 days without an indictment. He is 29 years old. He does have a valid address. He is the father of 2. He's also a lifelong Georgia resident. He graduated from high school and he also obtained his CDL license. Prior to being arrested, he was working at People Ready. I didn't hear any felonies, convictions. I did hear 3 misdemeanors. He was arrested April 5th. He had a preliminary hearing on June 8th. And he is still in custody, Your Honor. We're asking for a $5,000 bond.
What says the state?
Your Honor, the state would be asking for a bond of no less than $9,000. The state's fine with some UJRs on the public drunk, the cruelty, and the obstruction. But the state is concerned with the simple battery, family violence charges. State be concerned with the flight risk with the FTA and the risk to reoffend. I know it's an older case, but well, it's not that old. 22 CR 535J for obstruction, a prior similar like offense. But the state would just be asking for $9,000, no contact with the victim, other than I know in the original order it was a blanket no contact with all the victims, but I believe Aaron Jones works for EMS, so I'll leave it up to the court, but there may be incidental contact as a result of that. But the state would ask for the those conditions remain.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, includes mental health, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and exact location you'll be working. Stay away from 420 East Crossville Road in Roswell, Georgia. That's the racetrack. Stay away from North Fulton Hospital except for medical necessities. No further contact with Aaron Jones unless official capacity. No further contact with Shakira Muskelly, Muskelly, and minor C as in Charlie, T as in Tom, and R as in Roger, T as in Tom. Those are both minor children. No further contact with them. Now, let's see, it'd be 1,000, UJR jail, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, UJR jail, UJR jail, UJR jail. Need that again, Ms. Travoria?
Yes, Judge.
1,000, 1,000, UJR jail, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, UJR jail, UJR jail, UJR jail.
Thank you, Judge. I got it.
All right. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. All right. First, let's see. Who else I got here? Do I have, let's see. No, who we got down here? It's Richard Pullum. All right. This is number 2, 23 CP 217384, 142 days without indictment. There's a $10,000 good bond as of April 3rd for theft by shoplifting. Pre-trial.
11 prior arrests, 3 misdemeanors, 2 felonies. An old robbery, currently on probation for theft by shoplifting, 3/24/23, 12 months confinement, 5 years probation, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Mr. Pullum is 62 years old. He has a culinary arts degree. Prior to this incident and the arrest back in October of last year, he was the executive chef over at Starwood hotel and resorts. And he's been stuck in a legal quagmire. Like I said, the incident occurred back in October 2022, and things didn't really get rolling until February. He's been sitting in jail for months between hearings, and he's lost everything that he's ever had just being incarcerated like this. In his own words, he says he only knows to go to work and back home. The incident occurred because he was an unwilling patsy to a crime when his work hours got cut, and somebody was like, hey, you want to drive truck for us? And he's like, okay. And I don't like to get into facts any more than that, but I want to make it clear that even the prior arrest on the pretrial was related to this incident. Like, he doesn't have this extensive criminal history. He only knows to cook food. That's it, is what he tells me. He's a chef. That's all he does. That's all he wants to do, Your Honor. And so we're asking for, he doesn't have much anymore due to this lengthy business and incarceration. So maybe something down to 1,000. It's the one charge or a signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead. What says the state?
Your Honor, the state would oppose that low, just considering the fact that the defendant has that, there's concern of risk to reoffend with a prior recent theft by shoplifting. The state's also concerned with the amount. I know it's not that much, but it's still flooring of about 3,500 from that Woodstock Home Depot location. The state would just ask for a bond of no less than 5 and a stay away from all Home Depots.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from all Home Depots. And I had before, he's not going to live in Fulton County. Is that true, Mr. Showalter?
If he were to be released,
Sir, you gonna live in Fulton County? Thumbs up or thumbs down? I need thumbs up or thumbs down. You're on mute. I need thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up. Okay, gotcha. You're gonna live in Fulton County. Stay away from 6400 Peachtree Dunwoody Road. That's all Home Depot, sir. But previously it said you lived in Decatur. So we'll make it a $5,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. What about Jerome West? Number 13, Bostic 23, CP 218179. 209 days without indictment, no bond as of May 3rd, felony shoplifting. Pre-trial.
Wrong, what number? I'm sorry.
Number
I got
13.
it. Judge, 18 prior cycles, open cases, 22 SC 182924, theft by shoplifting and judicial hold, 22 SC 182981, schedule 3 counts of schedule 1 or 2 and drug related objects and judicial hold, 22 SC 181901, theft by shoplifting and judicial hold, 17 SC 148960, aggravated assault, fleeing and eluding, obstruction on probation, and then there's theft by shoplifting, sentence for 1723 for 10 years. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Caslen.
Certainly. We have Mr. West. He's 42 years old and has been living in Atlanta since 1989 with a good address at 1055 Cranberry Creek in Roswell. He is an Auburn graduate, class of 2000, with a computer science degree, and has a plethora of certifications, all in some type of senior and some type of computer system standards. He is a senior system engineer and has more recently opened up his own company, Smart Byte Systems. Your Honor, I understand he has a hold of some sort in Fayette. But Mr. West is almost a lifelong resident of Georgia, so he's not a threat to the community or for reoffense or risk of fleeing the court's jurisdiction. And at this point, we just request that bond be set at $1,000.
All right, what says the state?
Yeah, the state's really concerned with the amount of open pending cases. The state's concerned with the risk to reoffend, particularly 2 of those in the last year or so being shoplifting offenses. State would ask for the defendant definitely to stay away from Home Depots, or particularly the one at 5,300 Windward Parkway, an ankle monitor and a curfew. The state will be asking for a bond of no less than 20, just given the nature of the prior offenses and the fact that he was on probation for two separate cases at the time of this offense.
What's the amount you said one more time?
20,000, Your Honor.
All right, let's see. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 530 Windward Parkway. That's all Home Depot stores. Cannot go back to any Home Depot store, sir. Is he gonna live in Fulton County, Mr. Cashland?
Yeah, I believe so. Roswell, yeah. it's in
Gotcha,
Fulton.
sir. All right, so stay away from all Home Depot stores. $15,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Let's see, Darius Morgan. All right, let's see, number 25, Bostic 23, CP 218379. 105 days without indictment, no bond as of May the 11th. There is one count of battery, family violence, subsequent conviction or prior forcible felony conviction, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counts of cruelty to children in the third. Pre-trial.
22 prior arrests, open case 22 CP 213-375, cocaine, first offender, unterroristic threats and criminal damage for property, on probation, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, criminal damage for property, battery, family violence, 18 SC 161135, sentence 2018, 1 year confinement, 4 years probation, 4 arrests for probation violations, 3 misdemeanors. That's just only felony, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Kennebrew.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morgan has been in custody for 105 days without an indictment, also without a preliminary hearing. He does currently have a no bond. He is 30 years old. He does have familial support. He does also have a valid address. He is the father of 4 children, and he is a lifelong Georgia resident. He graduated from high school. He was working at Golden Corral as a prep cook prior to his arrest. Since being incarcerated over 105 days, he has been stabbed by another inmate, 3 other inmates at Fulton County Jail. There is an incident report in Odyssey. He was arrested on May 9th. And again, he hasn't had a preliminary hearing. We're just asking for a $5,000 bond so that he and his family can hopefully get him out of custody so that he does not get stabbed or injured or even die in jail.
What says the state?
Your Honor, the state would be seeking a higher bond than that. State's concern about the intimidation of witnesses. I would not want the defendant to be able, I understand that the 2 of the victims in this case are his children, but the state would definitely be asking for no contact with the victim, Ernisha Guider, and all of her children, and a stay away from that location, 3042 Middleton Road. State's just concerned again with the intimidation of witnesses, with the relationship, and then also the danger to the victim. The victim had injuries in this case, and then I think there's a 2018 case where the defendant had strangled another victim, and that's the basis for that ag assault that I believe he was on probation for. But the state's just concerned with the risk to reoffend and the danger to the victim. I'd ask for a high bond of no less than $45,000 and the conditions stated, Your Honor.
Prior to setting that bond, Your Honor, I just wanted to ask the state, have you had victim contact?
I don't believe, have had victim contact in this case.
Looks like they had it in May, according to the bond order. It says victim advocate indicated she spoke with the victim. She wants no contact. It's on the previous bond. I mean, it says it in May, that, on that May bond.
My notes as well, Your Honor, if I may.
Is he going to live in Fulton County, or does he have an address where he'll live?
He will be residing in Fulton County, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. You see anything, Mr. Scott?
I don't, you said on the bond order, Your Honor?
Yeah. On 511.
His was, oh, that's from October 22nd. Wait a second.
You see it right there when it says bonds to
Yeah, it's actually.
I see it now, Your Honor. Yes, I was looking at a previous bond order.
So recently, we have not been able to make contact, but I do see that we made contact on May 11th. And that's when, as the court has stated, there were concerns about her safety and not having to have contact.
And on that bond order, it also stated that she wasn't in fear, she just didn't want contact.
Yeah, I can barely read this. They like squeeze it in there where you can barely. Yeah, she wants no contact but doesn't fear. All right, let's see. So you have an address where he'll be living other than the Middleton Road? So
Yes, and I
all
will
right.
provide for it.
Okay, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 3042 Middleton Road. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you will be working. Also, no further contact Ernesia, ERNESHIA, Diamond, last name GUIDER, and no further contact with the children unless you're married or whatever, and there's some other order in a family division court case, and you can go by that one. Okay, so let's see, 5,000 on each cruelty to children and 15,000 on battery family violence. So it's 15,000, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
I'll see you Thursday. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, Ishmael Walker.
Okay.
Wave your hand if you're Ishmael Walker. All right, there we go. Number 10, Bostic 23, CP 215820, 206 days without indictment. There's a $3,000 good bond as of May the 1st on possession of Schedule 2 controlled substance and battery. And on here, Ms. Safarasi, it says that Foster Bonding posted it, but I don't know what happened there. Maybe you do. Pre-trial.
4 prior arrests. Not sure if he has a conviction, but I think it's for a burglary and entering auto. Disposition is not listed on his GCIC, but right after it says probation violation out of another county.
Okay.
Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Safarasi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Walker, he's been incarcerated 206 days without an indictment. We had a preliminary hearing back in May, and his bond was set about $3,000 back in May as well. Your Honor, this is really, the allegation of it is that he had punched someone. Our position is that there was some conflict, but it was really to protect the person that was being assaulted, and so there might be something fleshed out better at trial. But that's the allegations that came out when we handled the preliminary hearing. Mr. Walker's bond was posted. He was accepted to the Ebenezer's church, but then they withdrew it, and they never told me why they were going to withdraw it. I think it's because of his hold had popped up when they posted his bond, that hold in Muskogee County. That is a misdemeanor probation violation hold, but they do want to come get him. So, Your Honor, considering the fact that he's been incarcerated over 200 days at a $3,000 bond, he cannot afford it. Bail project's not an option because of the hold. And then the Ebenezer bailout didn't work because of this hold as well. So, Your Honor, we're asking for a UJR to the hold so he can go handle the hold. Again, this is a situation where, honestly, if this case was pled out today, he would likely get time served and a little bit of probation. That's probably what we're looking at in terms of this. He doesn't have much of a history, 4 cycles in Georgia. He's 45 years old. We have a good address for him. He has multiple addresses in Georgia, different family members, but he would like to stay in Atlanta because he also wants to get some treatment. We do have some drug issues, and we try to get him into a program with PAD, but again, with the hold, it complicates all types of getting people into programs. So he would like to get out and be able to go to these programs himself and apply himself to these programs. He spent his entire life here in Georgia. He has his entire family here, including his 4 children, and they age from 30 to 6 years old. They all stay here in Georgia. He resides with his grandma and his mom, also has a house here. He does have his GED. He wasn't currently enrolled in Miller and Mott College, where he was studying business management. At the time of his arrest, he was working for Radio Cab, which is driving taxi, and he had that job for a year and thinks he can get it back. So, Your Honor, due to the fact that he's been in for so long and no movement has happened on this case, we're asking for the UJR to the hold.
All right. What says the state?
The state would not oppose the UJR to the hold, but would ask for an ankle monitor whenever or if the defendant would be released, and would ask for no contact with Francesco Gonzalez, no weapons and no drugs. State's mainly concerned, I do understand it's an old history, but there's a lengthy Florida history so the state would be concerned about the possibility of flight risk and ask for an ankle monitor to alleviate that.
Okay, all right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Excuse me. Got no further contact with Francisco Gonzalez. An ankle monitor, sir, paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you will be working. Also, let's see, what I'll do is UJR to the hold. So you have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle, sir, once you're released. If you don't go there, they're going to revoke your bond and you'll be sitting back here again. Okay, so don't forget. I'll do 1,000 on each count or UJR to the hold. That way, sir, if they don't come and pick you up, you have a $2,000 good bond. Okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I don't want you to get hung up there waiting for them and they never come and get you. Okay. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor, and that completes my business tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good one.
You too.
I've got Courage Emma Biden. That's you, right, sir? 4 South, booth 3. That's you. Okay. Number 6 and 7. 23 CP 218124, 114 days without indictment. It's got a $45,000 good bond as of May the 2nd for burglary in the first degree, criminal damage to property is second degree, entering an auto with intent to commit a theft or a felony. Mr. Walker, you can leave the booth. Mr. Walker, leave the booth. You can't just sit in there and eat. You can leave the booth. You're done, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening. Now position 7. Go ahead, sir. There you go. Thank you. 23 CP 218125, 114 days without indictment, a $35,000 good bond as of 5/2 for airing an auto with intent to commit a theft or a felony and burglary in the first degree.
14 prior arrests, prior purchase, manufacturing, sale, 3 FTAs, 2 arrests for probation violation, about 5 misdemeanors, 1 being a battery, family violence, a battery. 2017, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Cashland.
Certainly, we have Courage, who's 31 years old and a lifelong Georgia resident with a good address on file at 4087 Will-Drop Place in Decatur. He has 2 children, 2 boys, 7 and 3 months old. So obviously that's been a life change with the birth of his new son. He prior to his incarceration was employed doing lawn care, Your Honor, and I believe his earlier attorney was working on some type of pre-trial programs, whether it was drug court or some behavioral programs. So I think that's the route that we request taking, or if able. Courage is, as I said, a lifelong resident, so his threat to the community is minimal, or for reoffense with the birth of his new child. I don't believe he'd be a threat to witness intimidation or fleeing the court's jurisdiction. Your Honor, I've spoken with Courage and he is adamant about turning his life around. And so at this point, we request that a bond be set on secured judicial release.
All right, and he doesn't live in Fulton County, so he's not gonna live in Fulton County, correct?
I believe that is correct.
You gonna live in Fulton County, sir? Thumbs up or a thumbs down? All right, because there's a Decatur address, so you are gonna live in Fulton County? All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, the state would ask for a higher bond, particularly 40 for both aggregate. The state is concerned with the prior personal misdemeanor offenses, and then also the trespass offense, the rather recent, so the risk to reoffend with similar offenses, and theft offenses on the defendant's history. The state's just concerned with the defendant entering into the victim's home multiple times, is concerned about their safety and the danger of property, Your Honor. But the state would ask for the same conditions, the stay away from the victim's residence and no contact with the victims.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Disposition 6, stay away from 450 Blackland Road. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. No further contact with John Winsett or Mary Kate Wells. So that means you got to stay 200 yards away from them and that house. You understand? 20,000, 5,000, 5,000. So that's 20,000, 5,000, and 5,000. No drugs and no alcohol, no weapons. I think I said that. Must supply an address where you're going to be living to the jail to get out, okay? So supply an address where you'll be living to the jail upon release. Now, position 7, sorry. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 450 Blackland Road. No further contact with John Winsett, W-I-N-S-E-T-T, and Mary Kate Wells. Ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. 5,000 and 20,000, 5,000 and 20,000. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. All right, now I got Joyce McGee. All right, this is position 19, 22 CP 214139. 99 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond as of May the 17th on theft by receiving stolen property, felony, and misdemeanor obstruction. Pre-trial.
5 prior arrests, 1 controlled substance in 93, 1 FTA, 1 misdemeanor. She was on pretrial, but a bond surrender was done because she only showed up for orientation. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, Judge. Good afternoon. Miss McGee is 55 years old, and yes, she was originally out on pretrial. Pretrial surrendered her bond for that reason. I believe is partially due to the fact that she had difficulty being contacted. She was at the time in between homes and also did not have a phone. Now she's, of course, told me that she does have a place to stay in East Point. I do have a specific address for that. And she does have a phone number which she can be contacted back at. So Judge, we would ask ultimately that she be put back on pretrial. If whether or not pretrial, would take her back, it is, I guess, up to the court's discretion. But if pretrial is adamant in not taking her back, we would ask for a UJR through the jail. She has been in jail now for 99 days once this bond has been surrendered. As you've heard, she only has 5 cycles, I believe, now at the age 55. And I do think that that is worth noting. She's been living in Georgia for the past 23 years, though she's originally from Chicago. She's a high school graduate, completed 1 year in college, and was working at KFC before being arrested. She right now has a $5,000 bond. We have tried to get her the assistance of the bail project, Judge, and they, for some reason, Judge, have been slow in terms of even contacting us on what they're doing, but they haven't gotten back to us, Judge, and we don't know why. We suspect that it was still a phone number issue, but even as of today, Judge, we've been able to verify whatever phone number that the bail project may have had issue with. So I don't know what their issue is. Still, she's being held in jail, and we do not know why in terms of the bail project. We would ask for no further obstacles for her release. And, she can't afford any bond at this point. So that's why, Judge, we are asking for a UJR.
All right, what says the state?
Yeah, the state would oppose a signature bond. State would ask for no less than 3,500. Again, the state's concerned with the flight risk with the fact that the bond had already been surrendered prior, and the fact that the defendant has a failure to appear on their history as well.
right.
I understand it doesn't have extensive history, but I'd also ask for no contact with the victim and no weapons as originally put in the order, Your Honor.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1703 Columbia Avenue in College Park. No further contact with Lalita, L-A-L-I-T-A, Bird, B-Y-R-D, Cunningham, C-U-N-N-I-N-G-H-A-M. So we'll do 1,500 count 1 and 500 count 2. $2,000. Best of luck to you, ma'am. Next time they come back, Mr. Rhodes, will handle it different if they don't get it together over there at the bond bail project. All right, let's see. It's China Crandall. All right, this is number 20 for Mr. Rhodes. This is 23 CP 217348, China Crandall, 98 days without indictment. There's a $3,000 good bond as of 5/17 for VGCSA, scheduled controlled substance 1 or 2, and criminal trespass. Pre-trial.
Same situation.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Judge. Well, yes, she was originally released on UGR, was rearrested for, I guess, not having proper contact with pretrial officers. And that, again, was kind of the same situation in that she did not have, one, a good address or a good phone number to use as well. Similarly, now we do have that, Judge. She'd be living with her mother in Cumming, Georgia, and we have 2 phone numbers that she'd be able to give pretrial, reliable phone numbers with the people that she'd be living with. Ms. Crandall herself is 24 years old. She does not have anyone to exactly sign her out of jail on the current $3,000 bond that she has. So we would just ask for again, a reinstatement on UJR, whether through pretrial or the jail. She, similarly, of course, has been in jail now over 90 days at this point. She has not had a preliminary hearing because she surrendered her right to a prelim, I guess, by first bonding out. But still, Judge, the only felony, as you can see, the charges are possession of the Schedule, I think, 2 controlled substance, drug-related objects, and criminal trespass. And the only felony is the drug possession. And the allegation for that, Judge, is for residue, methamphetamine residue. It's written in the warrant, found in a pipe. That residue, again, this would be contested later on, but Judge, I don't think that residue is ever tested through GBI.
Right.
So we don't know what the final result of, this actual case might be. I don't know what the DA is planning on actually doing with something like this, especially since we haven't had a chance to fight it or, contest it at a prelim. So essentially she'd just be, and has been, wasting away in jail without, really a chance to fight the charges or anything, or even have the case be indicted or even accused by the DA's office. So with that, Judge, I'll wrap up. I would again ask for a UJR for Ms. Crandall. She has no means to bond herself out, even on the $3,000 amount that she has, Judge. There's nothing that she can't afford. So we would just ask for a UJR, or if in any way for the state to even move the case, if they can indict or accuse it. Otherwise, there's nothing that's happening with Ms. Crandall.
All right. It says the state.
I can definitely inform case intake, but the state would be opposing a signature bond at this time and would just ask for 500 for the Schedule 1 or 2 and 500 for the criminal trespass for an aggregate of 1,000, Your Honor, and the same conditions of staying away from Studio 6 locations and no weapons. State is concerned with the flight risk.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from all Studio 6 locations and 9955 Old Dogwood Road. So 500, 500 and UJR jail. 500, 500 and UJR jail. Best of luck to you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I think that's.
And Judge, you did not say ankle monitor on that one, correct?
Oh, it's okay. All right, position 15. Kimatisha Chapel. Sorry, ma'am, if I destroyed that, I apologize. All right, this is number 15. 113 days without indictment. It's 23 CP 218186, $35,500 good bond as of May the 3rd. Possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. Possession and controlled substance in Schedule 1 or 2 with intent to distribute. That's ×2. And possession of drug-related objects. It's alleged 313 grams of weed, 55 grams of MDMA, and 2 grams of heroin. Pre-trial.
No prior arrest could have been recommended for UJR through pretrial services.
Did you say yes or no? It was or was?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Cashland.
Certainly, we have Miss Chapel here. She is a lifelong resident, Georgia resident. She is 39. She was employed at STK Steak Kitchen as a chef for approximately 4 years. She has 3 daughters, ages 2, 4, and 8. And as we're all aware, that the school year just recently started and she's been away from them. Additionally, there's been a change in some family circumstances. She's had to endure 3 family deaths while still being incarcerated, so she was unable to attend those funerals. She has a few other medical issues that makes it a little bit more difficult being incarcerated. Your Honor, I know this isn't the proper venue to discuss the facts, but I just want to get out there that at the time of her arrest, the arresting officers were really there for her boyfriend at the time. His name was on the warrants, and just by proxy of her name being on the hotel room registration, she got swept up into this. There's multiple officers making the comment of that her arrest is not necessary, as it appears that she's not a party to the alleged criminal activities of, again, her boyfriend. So as a result, Your Honor, she has 2 different health certifications. She's a CNA and a PCT. I believe that's a primary care technician. Your Honor, again, based on Ms. Chappell's lack of criminal history, having 3 daughters here in Georgia, community ties, not a threat to flee the court's jurisdiction, nor is she a threat to any other party or witness to this case. And we just ask that she be able to, her bond be set at a UJR so she could reunite with her family and start the school year with her children.
So is she gonna live in Fulton County?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, go ahead. What says the state?
Yeah, the state would oppose the signature bond just because the bond schedule is going to recommend 12.5 for both counts of the Schedule 1 or 2. The state would be asking for a bond of no less than 15,000, no drugs, without prescription, and no contact with her co-perpetrator and / boyfriend, Clifton Bradford. But that would be what the state's asking for, Your Honor.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact your co-defendant, Clifton Bradford, Bradford. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, the exact location you'll be working. That also include childcare, ma'am, and basic life necessities. So if you have to take them to daycare, to school, stuff like that, you can do that. All right, let's see. All right. 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 and UJR jail. 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 UJR jail. Just a whole bunch of weed and a bunch of MDA, and any heroin's too much heroin. Best of luck to you, ma'am. All right. Kanisha Rowe, Miss Rowe. Thank you, Mr. Cashland. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, that's 22 and 23. 23 CP 218972. No bond as of May 31st on robbery. 105 days without indictment. Then we got physician 23 CP 218355. 105 days without indictment. No bond as of May 10th on terroristic threats and acts.
18 prior cycles. 23 CP 211838. Aggravated assault and obstruction. Open. Prior battery, family violence, prior simple assault. Couple of arrests for probation violation. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Corn.
Thank you, Your Honor. And it's a pleasure to see you again.
Hey, you too. Hadn't been long at all.
I like to go last. No, I don't, not really. All right, Ms. Rowe is in jail without bond. She has been 105 days, as the court knows. She's 45 years old, lifetime residence of the Atlanta metropolitan area. She has, at the time of this offense, She was more or less homeless. She was living on a Gateway and thereabouts. But she has since gotten permanent residence with her fiance, Timothy Walton, who has an apartment now at 82 Camp Creek Parkway in College Park. He's been out while she's been stuck in here these last 105 days. And he's gotten to get them an apartment. The problem here, Judge, as it tends to be, is she has some mental health issues. She has been drinking. We're working on getting her into PAD as one possibility, or the behavioral health treatment court. We believe that either of those would be a really good disposition or resolution of this case. In any case, we're asking that she be released on a reasonable bond. The robbery, it's not a great case, but it's not a horrible case. There's no weapon involved. And the person was actually an acquaintance of hers. She apologized to him right afterwards. The terroristic threats is against her sister, and I've been in contact with her. It was a Facebook threat. Essentially, it was felony use of hyperbole. She was off her meds at the time. She's been back on for a while now. We would ask, and she's in a much better place for certain, other than the fact that she's in AC/DC. We would ask that she be granted a total $5,000 bond and be allowed to be released on those reasonable bonds.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, I did have that the victim may want to speak, and that being the secondary victim. Well, I guess, yes, the victim on the position 23.
Ms. Berry. All right, Ms. Berry, if you want to have something to say, you got to turn your camera on so I can swear you in, please, ma'am. All right, if you raise your right hand, do you swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth? If you take yourself off mute for me. There you go. Can I get a yes, please, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Scott.
If you could just inform the court as to how this crime impacted you and any opinion you had as to bond, or any concerns about the danger if the defendant were released.
I feel like she needs drug and rehab treatment, and maybe get her life back on track, because it's like persistent, like ongoing situations like with alcohol, and alcohol is affecting her family, and we just tired, and we just really want her to get help, get out and do the right thing, and just be right with about life. So it's pretty much, and he's a good person, and I think she can do it if she like put her mind to it and just let go of the alcohol and get out and get a job and like get like a long-term like treatment for alcohol, because I feel like alcohol is her weakness. And like, I'm fine with her getting the bond, and she just needs treatment, and I accept her. I forgive her and stuff. So
What's your opinion on her having contact with you?
I'll need a moment, like for some time. I'm not gonna give up on her. Like, show me that she can she's willing to like put her foot forward and make some better decisions in life.
So if we say no further contact unless you initiate it, something like that?
Yes.
So she won't be able to contact you.
She can contact me, because that's my sister. Of course, we're gonna be in contact. So
well, I'll let you be the one that initiates it. How about that?
Yes.
You initiate contact, okay?
Okay.
It's okay, Miss Rowe. You have any questions for Mr. Corn?
No, Your Honor.
I want her to focus on any kind of recovery she's got. Go ahead. What says the state, Mr. Scott?
Your Honor, the state would ask for a higher bond for the defendant. The state is concerned by the fact that we have 2 cases before the court of at least of a violent nature. State's also concerned with the risk to reoffend and the danger to the victim. I know that the victim's rather defendant's sister has stated that she doesn't have any issues with the defendant getting a bond, but state's still concerned about that given the nature of the allegations, particularly what she said she would do. I don't want to get into too much of the PC, but just the concerns of harming her and her children. So state definitely would ask for a stay away from the sister's home, but has no issues with no contact, or rather doesn't have an issue with contact over as once the victim's is willing to initiate that. But I would ask for a stay away from the home. The state would ask for no less than 25,000 on position 23, and then no less than 30 on position 22. And the state is concerned also with some recent personal offenses, the assault and battery in 2016 and 2017 respectively, as well as some older personal violent offenses on the defendant's history.
Mr. Corn, is there something that you want to say? Sorry.
No, I'm a little surprised by that high recommendation, but I don't know anything about that. I know Ms. Berry, I've spoken with her, and she seems perfectly fine with a reasonable bond as opposed to the one I just heard.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Berry. So we'll do on position 22, ending in 8972. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 275 Prior Street. No further contact with Philip Lynch. Have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, mental health, or addiction treatment be included in that. And employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, the exact location you'll be working. And also, we'll go ahead and add basic life necessities since you do have children, and I know you want to get back out there and take care of your children. I'll do a $10,000 bond. All right, on position 23, ending in 8355. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 511 Butler Road. No further contact with Nicole Berry unless she initiates. So you can't call her. Okay, let her call you. You have the ankle monitor paid for by the county with that 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, exact location you'll be working. That'll also cover any type of, I'm not saying that you have mental health issues, mental health or addiction treatment, and basic life necessities, so you can take care of your children instead of having to rely on someone else. I'll do a $5,000 good bond on that, okay? Best of luck to you, Ms. Rowe.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Berry. And I think that is it. Am I right?
Nelson's still on.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Milton. Have a good evening. Yeah, I think